Welcome back to the newsroom. Does a free press pose a threat to national security? Well, Romania's President Traian Băsescu is facing criticism after he was seen to make that connection. Together with other Romanian officials, he recently signed off on a new Romanian defense strategy, and it includes the suggestion that anti-government press campaigns could come to destabilize Romania. On the back of that, critics are now accusing Băsescu of trying to crack down on democracy. Let's take a closer look in this report, and then we'll be back to discuss the issue in just a moment.
When the authorities in Romania read the paper, they want to see good news. That seems to be the reasoning behind President Traian Băsescu's new national security strategy. Journalists who criticise public institutions are seen as a threat to national security.
It's just state institutions sending out a message. Sometimes journalists' criticism can weaken a democracy, so this is a justified response.
Unsurprisingly, the media is up in arms over the new measure.
The president's spokesperson can say what he wants, but calling the media a threat to national security makes no sense.
Romanian journalists are known for saying what they think. With public discontent mounting over the state of the economy, the press has openly denounced the government's handling of the crisis. Austerity plans include a 25% cut in civil servant benefits. In a country where the average salary is just €350 a month, the measure's not gone down well.
The government is asking us to make even more sacrifices. We are saying no, and we stand firm on that issue. No to the government.
A series of corruption scandals has also sent the government's popularity plummeting.
Less than 20% of the population supports this government. If society is critical of the government, it's no surprise the press is too.
But instead of fighting corruption, the Romanian president has chosen a more vulnerable enemy. And for many, the infringement on free expression is reviving dark memories of censorship during communist rule.
All right, joining us now for more is Adina Crisan-Revol. She's a researcher at the Center for European Studies at the Politics University Sciences Po here in Paris. Also with us on the line from the Romanian capital, we have correspondent Sander Nicola. And if we start with you, Sander, tell us more about how Romanians have reacted to this move by the president.
Oh, good morning. Announced 3 weeks ago, days after the Conservative government barely survived the non-confidence vote initiated by the Socialist Liberal opposition, the new doctrine triggered uproar among the Romanian media, which targeted their indignation at President Traian Băsescu, because he chairs the country's Supreme Defense Council, which includes the Prime Minister, the Interior Minister, and the heads of various intelligence services. For the Romanian media, the majority of which have embarked on a long campaign against the government, the new security doctrine smacks of censorship and brings back memories of the Ceausescu era, when the press was totally subordinated by the regime and when any act of criticism was perceived as an attack against the foundations of the state. Well, relations between the Romanian press and the Conservative coalition government in Bucharest have been deteriorated in recent months, and as you already saw, the media has been very critical of the government's announced austerity measures, among which are the 25% reduction of salaries in the public sector, combined with a failed attempt to reduce pensions by 15%. This later was deemed unconstitutional by the country's Supreme Court, and the measure was promptly replaced by a decision to raise VAT to 25% on the eve of the summer holidays. Well, the inclusion of the media among the country's weak points seems to divide even the government. Asked in a press conference whether he thinks that the media are a danger to the state, well, the Interior Minister, Vasile Blaga, a member of the council himself, advised the journalists to direct their question to the presidency. And it's already known that since his re-election in December 2009, Traian Băsescu, who had faced overwhelming press opposition during the campaign, seems to have initiated a total divorce between the presidential institution and the media. He systematically refuses to give interviews and has ended the practice of taking groups of journalists with him when he travels abroad.
All right, let's turn then to Dina Crisan-Reval here in the studio. How is the Romanian press behaving towards the government? I mean, is there a basis here for the government to basically say that the press is a destabilizing factor, or could be at least a destabilizing factor?
So the press has been seen in the national defense strategy as a vulnerability, which means an internal factor of risk, which can be very difficult to manage with in the society.
But in your view, is that correct?
But the question is not if the press is good or bad. The question is here about the freedom of speech, and in the same strategy of defense, in the first page of the strategy of defense, the President Băsescu said that Romania has won the freedom of speech very hardly in the revolution of '89, and Romania is a democracy that protects the freedom of speech. So in this strategy of defense, there is a huge contradiction between what is said on one hand and what is said on the other hand. Because if you look on the strategy more closely, the press is seen as a vulnerability, but also as something that we should work at somebody we should work with in order to create the defense of Romania in the future.
Why then do you think that the President and his allies have introduced this move in the national defense strategy?
So first, this move is not so it's more President's move than his allies' moves, because the Minister of the Culture, who is a member of the government and a member of another party than Băsescu's party, he criticized this move. So this move, what are the main reasons behind? The main reason behind may be the fact that the press has been very critical about the government gestion of the crisis. And we all know that Romania had very difficult times in order to cope with the crisis, and the austerity measures are very, very difficult. And this could be also a measure in order to make Romanians forget about the difficult times they are cope with.
Just very briefly, I mean, some critics now say that Romania is on a slippery slope back to dictatorship. Would you agree with that image?
So to my part, it's a bit more complicated than that, because this national defense strategy. What is this national defense strategy? It's a constitutional obligation of the president. In fact, he has to present a national defense strategy 6 months after his election. So this was in December. So now he has to present his strategy. But this strategy has now to be adopted by the parliament. And here we have the opportunity to see if we have a real democratic parliament, and if Romania is a real democracy. And in the context of Romania being member of both NATO and the European Union, that should work, I suppose.
All right, Dina Crisan-Reval, thanks very much indeed for speaking to us here at France 24. Thanks also to Sanda Nicola, who was with us there from Bucharest. And with that, we're going to wrap up Focus for now. Do stay with us, though, here at France 24.